Hello, gentlemen, lady. How's everybody doing this evening?
We doing fine, champ. You ready for next week?
Ready? Yeah. I'm ready.
What's going on? Good morning, you guys. Happy Saturday. Happy Saturday. Listen, man, I promise you, when I get some money, I'm going to give me a real intro. I mean, I have a Knucklehead Chronicles intro, but it has me and the other three guys that I had on before, and now it's just me. But anyway, welcome to another episode of Knucklehead Chronicles, man. I promise you guys, I'm going to try to do these episodes every other day or so, because I do them every other day, so I can record them and then promote viewership or listenership the next day. So I think we are in episode 6, if I'm calling correctly. And excuse me, oh Jesus. Before we get into the story, I said to you guys on the last episode that we should really take care of our loved ones and tell them that you love them and all of that, right? But you know, and it's just another instance. I keep telling you guys that every time that I turn on or look up Facebook, there's a RIP, right? And so this morning, as I'm getting ready to do this live broadcast. I'm going to do this live recording. It's the first thing I see is another RIP of a young lady that, I grew up with, who was a huge supporter of the Common Sense Show TV back in the day when I first did that, and the Knucklehead Chronicles. She was always one that she would always come into the comments. She was always, she always supported. She was a huge Dallas Cowboy fan. Man, when I tell you, when I read that she had passed away, that hurt me to my soul. I mean, it hurt me to my soul. So I am actually struggling this morning to do this, because she was such an integral part, and she married my cousin, one of my distant cousins, and so I can only imagine what he's feeling right now. And so I want to shout him out, our veteran, Pickett, my cousin, man, I love you, bro. I don't know what it's like to lose a spouse, so that's man, I tell you. But also, rest in peace, Vera. Her name was Vera Birch Pickett, and she was just the dopest. I mean, I remember growing up, in my hometown, and she was one of those. She was an upperclassman that rode the same school bus as I did. We lived in the trailer park. It was 3 trailer parks, and they were all side by side. So we used to go over to the trailer park and go play with the other trailer park kids. It was crazy. And so, man, rest in peace, Vera. Man, you'll be missed. We love you. On this side, man. Like I know her sister is in pain, and I know it. And I want you to know, Tanya, that we love you over here too. I don't even know. Man. It's I don't even know how to feel, man. It's crazy. God Almighty, man. Listen, tell your loved ones you love them, like legit, because life is too short. You just don't know. But rest in peace, Vera. All right, so we're gonna jump in it. All right, so we in episode 6. All right, so if you have been following the episodes, I'm doing some dumb stuff, and the stuff that I do or getting ready to do is the dumbest stuff you probably ever heard, right? Well, let's get into it. Now, me and Minnie Pearl were just going through all kinds of dire straits. I mean, it was just to the point where I was just ready. I was ready to go. She was ready for me to go, and it was just like it was like a normal thing. Like let's stay together but hate each other. And it got to the point by the time it was over, we hated each other. But as you will know, as some of us know, just because people say that it's over doesn't really mean that it's over, right? So at this time, I was introduced to another young lady who I went to go see. She was introduced to me by my sister-in-law, or my ex-sister-in-law, and I said, you know what? I said I was just in such a way I wanted to be out of this mess with Minnie Pearl. I said, let me go and meet her. So I go down, I catch a Greyhound bus. Like I said in the last episode, I go down, I catch a Greyhound bus to Jacksonville, North Carolina, Camp Lejeune. And my sister-in-law, now my brother was in the military. My sister-in-law worked at this place called Converges, which is a call center down there. Converges is all over the place. They had different clients in different locations. Now, I'm not sure what was down at that Converges. I can't remember, but I know that the Converges in Charlotte did OnStar for Chevrolet. So if you guys are familiar, if you have a GM vehicle and you got OnStar in it, if you press that button and get an OnStar an OnStar agent, they were probably in Charlotte, depending on where you press your button. But nonetheless, and so I go down, and the first day I get down there, I'm nervous. I'm nervous because I'm going to meet this woman. I don't know her from a can of paint, But I was entrusting my brother and my sister-in-law. And I was like, oh, she's just like, she's just like me. We've been friends for a little bit. She just had a baby. No, she hadn't had a baby yet. She was pregnant. She was pregnant when I met her. And I was like, all right, okay, fine. So I get down there and I go and I meet her on her lunch break, right? So I remember my sister-in-law, I'm riding with her and we pull up to the building and she's standing outside. And I was like, oh my God, pregnant at all. I mean, she was about 7, I think she was 6 or 7 months pregnant at the time that I met her. And I was like, ooh, And so she gets in the car and we're in that awkward, I want to say something, but I don't want to say something type of situation, right? So we go and my brother met us. He had just finished his shift or something, and he met us. We ended up going to Wendy's. Of all the freaking places on the planet to go eat lunch, we went to Wendy's. And so we go to Wendy's and we talk, and I had on this red cutoff t-shirt, or this red sleeveless t-shirt, and I had this fro, and I had just got. Let me tell you how silly I was, right? And so I went down there on a Friday evening. I got my hair cut that Friday, or that same day. So I didn't, because fellas know that when we get our hair cut, we can never get it the same as the barber after they cut it. So I said, I'm going to preserve this for as long as I can. So I'm sitting on the bus with my freshly cut afro. I had a nice little size fro. And so I was sitting, I wish you guys can visualize this, but try to anyway. I am on the back of a Greyhound bus and I got my hands, and I wanted to go to sleep. So I went to sleep and I had my face in my hands on the back of the seat, so my hair wouldn't touch anything. Looking back on it now, it's kind of retarded, but that's what I did, right? So I get down there and I meet her. We go to lunch. She decides that she's so smitten by me that she did not want to go back to work. And so she didn't. she called back into her boss and said, I'm not coming back to work. And so we chilled out the rest of the day. The next day, which was Saturday, we loaded up. At the time, my brother only had one son, Zeke. Zeke was a baby years ago. Zeke a grown man now, but back then, when I first met her, Zeke was a baby. So we packed up, and she had 2 kids already. Strawberry had 2 kids already. So we pack up and we go to the beach. Now, we're in Camp Lejeune. We're right there by the beach. So we go to the beach, and we had a great day. We got done with the beach. We came back. We had sand everywhere. We had, Now, mind you, this was the first night that I was down there. So we go to the beach. And so she was like, you can spend the night if you want. And I was like, oh, yeah? Okay. Cool. So, I spent the night, after the beach. We went to the store, got something to eat, came back, we just chilled. We just chilled out. And she lived in a trailer, and it was cool, right? So we're laying in the bed. Of course, we did what grown folk do, not too in depth too much in that, but we did what grown folk do. And at about 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, her bedroom was by on the west side of the trailer, so there's a window right there. So by 2, 3 o'clock in the morning, now we out in the middle of nowhere. This is not a populated area. It's not like it's like neighborhoods now with the cul-de-sacs and all that. It ain't like that. It was a trailer park. It was, I think it was 4 trailers in the trailer park, but only 2 of them were used. And that was us, and that was her neighbor behind us. And so by 2:30, 3 o'clock in the morning, I see headlights, shining in the window. She automatically knows what's going on. She jumps up and she runs to her front door. Now, I have no clue of what's happening, right? So I'm laying there, sand in my ass because I didn't. We were right to bed. We had sand everywhere. You know how when you go to the beach, you got sand everywhere. So she goes to the door, and before this person could even knock on the door, she answered it. She opened it, and she was like, "What are you doing here? What are you doing here? This is 3 o'clock in the morning." Come to find out, it was her cousin. He was a distant cousin, and there's a long story behind that. But I'm not going to get into that. That's her story to tell. But just know this: dude was crazy. Just know that he was crazy as all get out. And long story short, he, I guess he thought he was in love with her, maybe, and he was just off of his meds. He was crazy, and because he had found out that I had spent the night down there, he decided to bust it. Now, this man's married with kids. He comes over to our house to take a look-see and see if I was at the house, and which I was. My shoes were at the front door. We got sand in them, this and that. So he got extremely, extremely jealous. So, didn't think anything of that. I didn't at the time. I should have, but I didn't. Just not thinking. Just going through life, just going through the motions, doing stupid stuff. So I didn't think anything of it. He left. She came back to bed. We didn't mention it anymore. So I leave on that Monday and I go back to Charlotte. I go back to Minnie Pearl. But at this point, I had decided that I was going to go back to Jacksonville and be with Strawberry. And so I stayed with Betty. I mentioned her name. Lord forgive me. Etch that out your thing. Minnie Pearl. Whoopsie. So I stayed with Minnie Pearl another couple of weeks, and then I left. I made my exit, and I went down to Jacksonville, stay with my brother, for about for a day or two, because he had a very small apartment, and I moved in with her. Now, her cousin is still crazy, But during the 2 weeks that I was gone, he really harassed her while I was back in Charlotte, and I just hadn't got back down there yet. But he harassed her to no end. So I get back, he tried to harass her again. I'm like, no, brother, I'm here now. We're not going to do that. I don't know what's going on. I still really didn't know at the time what was going on. But, she later on told me. But I was just like, brother, no, we're not going to do this. Right? We're not going to do this. I don't know what crazy antics you on, what you smoke. I don't know. But we're not going to do this. And so, but it got to the point where I think I was at my brother's. I spent the night with my brother's to babysit my nephew, Zeke. And he had come to her house and cut the phone line. He had cut the phone line to her house. So that way she couldn't call me, if she needed me or whatever. So I was like, at that point, she was like, I can't do this no more. And so she called her mother, who lived in Chicago. And she said, Mama, he tripping. I need to, because I can't remember his name now. But she called her mom up and she said, Mama, I need to come home because he tripping. He's making it hard for me to be here. And so she was like, yeah, you can come home. Now, I don't think she had told her mother about me before that conversation, but she ended up telling her mother about me during that conversation. And she said, well, Mama, I said, I got a new man. He's awesome. He's good with the kids, da-da-da-da. Now, by the time, all this happens, her baby, she had her, and to this day, still a baby girl. Anyways, so she told her mom, and her mom was like, okay, bring him with you. No. At first she was like, no, I don't know him. Don't bring him here. But then she was like, she said, well, Mama, I'm not leaving here without him. And she was like, her mama wanted her home so bad that she was like, okay, just bring him. And so we made plans. We moved out of the trailer park. We moved out of the trailer. We loaded up the a U-Haul truck. My brother drove the U-Haul truck. Me, her, and the kids got on the Greyhound bus. And we left Jacksonville and we went to Chicago. It took us 3 days to get there. But we got to Chicago. This is in 2001, maybe. God, 22 years ago. You got to think about it. Wow, it was crazy. But it was in 2001, because 9/11 hadn't happened. So it was 2001. So we get there and we pull the U-Haul in the backyard, and Mama throws us a barbecue. A welcome home barbecue for her daughter. It wasn't for me. It was for her daughter and her grandkids. So of course I partook in the barbecue because, hey man, I'm a fat kid and I love barbecue, right? So if you're wondering how I got her name for this story, I'll tell you how I got it. The very first day we were there, her mother her mother lived off of, if we got anybody that's in Chicago, she lived off Ashland, which is on the south side, in Inglewood. So it's kind of dangerous over there. But it wasn't as bad in 2001 as it is, I'm sure now, right? But her mother's like, okay, Strawberry, I need you to go to the store and get my drink. Now, her drink was Bacardi Dark. That was a drink. It was RC and Bacardi Dark. That was a drink. No matter what it was, no matter what time of day, what day of the week it was Bacardi Dark. So she was like, well, come on, honey, we're going to go walking. We're going to walk to the store. I'm like, walk? I don't know nothing about this area. What you talking about? And we walked to the store. As we were walking to the store, it was just me and her, and I think her oldest boy, and we walked to the store, and we had walked past an alley, and you heard someone scream, "Hey, Strawberry!" what? Who's that? Hey, Strawberry. So I mean, I don't know who this is. Couldn't find out. Just it was a guy that had a crush on her in high school and recognized her ass. We had to walk past the alley. He came out of the alley, looked, and recognized her by her ass. Like, what? Okay. So that threw me off. I'm like, okay, I'm definitely in the lion's den now. You know, because this is her old stomping ground. Everybody know her. You know what I'm saying? So that henceforth the name I dubbed the Strawberry. That's the reason why she's called Strawberry in this story. But anyhow, so we go to the story, we come back. And it was just, now I will say this, transitioning from the country where I'm from North Carolina. You know, guys that know me know that. I'm from North Carolina and we lived in North Carolina. She moved from North Carolina, but she was a Chicago girl through and through, right? Me transitioning from the country to the city was hard. You talk about a learning curve, that was hard because there were certain things that I could do in the country that you can't do in the city. You can't smile on a bus in the city. You can't, wow at the beautiful big buildings. You can't do any of that, in the city. You can't be a friendly individual in the city because people think you're gay or people think that, and that's not being homophobic. That's what they really thought. That you gay or they thought that, you up to something or whatever. And so it was always in on the south side of Chicago, it's the mob mentality. Everybody, if you're not rolling with them, then you really got a problem. We're gonna find out what your problem is. So, it was different. It was hard. It was, I gotta tell you, it was hard. It was hard as hell. And so I remember, I really got homesick, and I called my mom, and my mom sent me $100, right? And with the $100, I went and got my ID and all that good stuff. But I had to find out she sent me a money order. See, back then we had money orders. You don't do money orders now because they got Cash App and Venmo. But yeah, I tried to get that money ordered cashed, and they have a place in the city called the Currency Exchange, and they're still up there on every corner, and so people love the Currency Exchange. That's where everybody got the cash, check cash, and all that. So I get my check cash, I go and I spend my $100. I said okay. Again, just a whole different situation. I was never comfortable in Chicago. And I think that's one of the things I've never admitted to her or anyone else is that I was never comfortable in Chicago. People just thought I was just being a bitch. I was being a bitch made punk, but it was just that I was just never comfortable. And no matter where we went, no matter what we did, it was just not comfortable. We lived dead smack in the middle of Inglewood, man. If you might know anything about Illinois, man, Inglewood is dangerous. And I lived in fear. So I lived in fear, so I never got comfortable. Now, and I'm going to bring this episode to draw it to a close. You remember when I said in the beginning of this episode, just because me and Minnie Pearl were over, but we weren't really over? Okay. Buckle up. This is what happened. Okay? Don't laugh at me. I had now, during the time I left Minnie Pearl and went back to Jacksonville, I didn't utter a word to her. But she kept calling. She had my number. She kept calling, but I would never answer. We would never talk. So I completely tried to erase her out of my life. But by the time we got to Chicago, she had already called my future mother-in-law and told her that, yeah, he ain't nothing. He left me high and dry, da-da-da-da-da-da. Just dogging me to my future mother-in-law. She was my mother-in-law yet. We ain't got married. But what happened was she got the phone bill, my cell phone bill, and she started calling numbers that was on the cell phone bill, trying to reach me. because I wouldn't never answer, right? But again, still didn't make any conversation. Still didn't, But eventually, I got this job working downtown Chicago called Catholic Charities. So that's right down dead smack in the middle of downtown. If I remember correctly, it was on Des Plaines. So Des Plaines was in shouting distance of what is now known as Willis Tower. Back in the day, it was the Sears Tower. And so one day I was at work. It was a Saturday. Never forget it. I went to work like I normally do. Got on the L train, took it all the way down, took the Green Line all the way downtown, got off and went to work. But for some strange reason, this day was different. Because normally I would have kissed her goodbye. That was normally my MO. But I did not kiss her goodbye this morning. It was just different. So I go to work, and I'm at work, and I made the mistake of calling Minnie Pearl. Now, mind you, I hadn't talked to her the whole time I was gone. But this particular Saturday, I called her. So I called her up. She says, "Hey, what's going on? How are you?" She just kind of goes to this nice girl mentality. You've been causing hell and havoc, behind my back. So I call her. I say, "Hey, what's going on with you? Like, everything good?" And she was like, "Yeah. When you coming home?" I said, "Man, I ain't messing with you. I am not messing with you, man. Go ahead on that drama." "Well, you called me, didn't you?" I said, "Well, I was calling to say, hey. I ain't think anything of it. Just calling to say, hey, I don't want nothing." She said, "When you coming home?" She said, "I tell you what. Where you at? I'll buy you a ticket." I was like, "Man, go ahead." But low key, because of the uncomfortability that I had, I was actually open to it. Right? Now, mind you, we're there. I'm with her 2 kids, and her baby girl that she had just had. Now, I think by this time she was maybe 4 or 5 months old. So I was like, "Man, I ain't messing with you." But, I never turned down the ticket. So what she did was she went ahead and bought a ticket and sent it to the airline counter. I'm like, "Man, I'm not doing this. I'm not finna leave Chicago. I'm not finna do this to her." Right? So I call her up from work. I'm like, hey, baby, what's going on? How's little mama? This and that, and, just put on the laying on kind of thick, right? "Oh, I hope you're doing all right. I miss you. I'll be home tonight." Right? Hung up with her. Called Minnie Pearl back and was like, "So what time's the plane leave?" That's I don't know what I was thinking. So I actually got on a plane. I left my job. I abandoned my job. Because I was downtown. Excuse me. Because I was downtown, the L train was right. The blue line where I need to go to get to O'Hare was like right outside the door. It's no better situation. So I left her. I abandoned my job, got on this L train, got on this plane, and flew back to North Carolina. I know somebody listened to it going, "Oh no, you didn't do that." Yeah, I did. Got on the plane, flew back to North Carolina. Didn't say goodbye to her. Didn't tell her what I was doing. This and that. Now, normally when I worked, I would call her 6-7 times during my shift just because I missed her, right? But I only called her that one time. So she's like, it got strange to her because she didn't hear anything else from me. Have you ever made a mistake and 30 seconds into it you knew it was a mistake? That was me. in this instance. When I got on the L train, barreling toward O'Hara, as soon as I got there, I think we were halfway to O'Hara, and it hit me like, what in the world am I doing? But for some reason or another, I just kept moving forward. I got on this plane, and it really didn't hit me until I strapped in my seatbelt and the plane took off. And I was like, I can't believe I'm doing this. And it's like, it was almost like having an out of body experience. Like, you see yourself doing it, but you couldn't stop it. It was like that. So I'm on the plane, and I'm in literal tears the entire time from the flight from Chicago back to Charlotte. I was literally in tears. And so we land, because it's not a long flight. It's like an hour and a half. So I land, and we land the plane. We get to the gate, and now, mind you, I left Chicago with absolutely nothing but the clothes that I had on my back. That was it. I didn't have anything else. I had my uniform. And I was like, Jesus, I didn't think none of this through. So I finally got the plane because I ended up being the last person on the plane to get off, because I just could not believe that I did it. I did this because I know I completely destroyed this woman. And as much remorse that I had, it didn't make a hill of beans. It didn't mean shit, to be truthful. So I get out the plane. I go downstairs. That's where you catch your ride, because I didn't have to go to baggage claim. I didn't have any bags. It was just me. So I go downstairs, and she's right outside the gate. She's like waiting for me. She was like, "Hey, baby, I knew I was gonna have you back." Da, 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 da. She went through this whole thing, and in that moment, I felt such a level of disgust, not only with her, but for me too. And I was like, I cannot believe that I did this. And I asked her, like, why did you do this? Do what? You didn't have to take the ticket. I didn't put a gun to your head. You talk about the state of manipulation, baby. Like, all right. And so I was there. But I instantly knew there was a mistake. Instantly knew it. And I was like, I just can't. I can't even. And so that night, she tried to seduce me. Let's do you home now, baby. Let's do this, baby. Da, 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 da. She went, she tried to buy me some shoes. And tried to buy me, because she had to buy me a whole wardrobe. I didn't have shit when I got the plane. And so she tried to buy all this nice stuff. She bought me a puppy, the whole nine. And I was like, because I always wanted a bulldog. So she got me a little pit bull. A little bulldog, but it had to be a mutt. I don't know. But anyways, and I'm like, so the entire time I was in such a state of disbelief. So one night, and I'm gonna bring it to a close there. One morning rather, I said, well, I need to get a hold of Strawberry. I gotta tell her what happened. I got to let her know, but she already knew what happened. But I had to hear her voice. I had to let her know. The reason why it was so uncomfortable for me with Minnie Pearl when I went back was because every time I closed my eyes, all I could hear was Lil Mama crying in my ear. I'm not giving her name, just to protect her, but all I could hear was her cries in my ears every time I closed my eyes. That's why I was so uncomfortable. So I finally get the chance to take Minnie Pearl's truck. I'm just driving around because I need to clear my headspace. So I get to a payphone, and I called Strawberry This is one night. It's like 7:30, 8 o'clock at night. And I call her up, and she answers, which surprised me. I figured she would never answer, but she answered, and she was like, "How dare you? How dare you call me? Why do you call me? Why are you calling me now? You left me. Why'd you leave me?" Da da da. I mean, I went through like an hour of that over the phone. It was deserving because of what I did. And she said, "But I love you so much." And I was like, "Well, I'm going home to my parents. I want you to come down here." And mind you, she's still in Chicago. At this time, I'm in North Carolina. So I go back to my hometown. And she says, "Okay," without hesitation. And she comes. She packs up the kids. She was gonna have one of her sister's boyfriend to bring her down, to drive her down, because he was from Mississippi, so he was going out for a visit. He was going to bring her, but something happened with them. He tried to hit on her. It went crazy. She ended up getting on a Greyhound and coming down to North Carolina. Now, I'm gonna end it right here because this brings another chapter. It starts another chapter. Ends one, starts one. Again, just to not put a bow on Minnie Pearl, because there's no bow on it yet. The next chapter will probably put a bow on it, but with Minnie Pearl, it was still not over. After all of that, it was still not over. I don't know what kind of hold she had on me, but it was still not over. Even after she came down, Strawberry came down, it was still not over. So stay tuned for part 7. It gets really tricky and dangerous. Fights break out and all that, but we'll get into it. Thank you for listening to another episode of the Knucklehead Chronicles. I'm your man, the Guru. Follow me on buzzsprout.com/Knucklehead Chronicles Podcast. You can leave me a email at knuckleheadchroniclespodcast@gmail.com. Remember, if you listen to the podcast on any podcasting platform, leave me a review, right? Leave me a review. That way, make sure you subscribe and download. That way, you will never miss another episode, because it will always tell you and update you that I have dropped a new episode. You really don't want to miss this, because it's really finna get nuts and ape shit crazy in a little bit. So we're on the cusp, but we're right there. But I hope you guys enjoyed it. You guys have a great rest of your day, man. Have a wonderful weekend. And